First, I should introduce who we are. So the name of our company is Dancing Bee, and we've been working with Tenuta for several years now, a very successful relationship importing queens. And I think a lot of people in Canada don't really understand your organization. So the purpose of this is to, get a little insight on what you guys do to bring us such high quality queens. So first question will be basically an overview of how you got into queens and how you got started in your business would be very interesting to people here.
Okay, we are in north of Italy, Piedmont, and we start to breed queens since 2006. Immediately we focus in Buckfast selection, cross-combination breeding. That means to take the best character from each subspecies under Apis mellifera and make a new line, different line, with first crossing after combination. In this year we grow up, and nowadays we are around 40 people, and we produce around 100,000 queens for 40 different countries in Europe and outside Europe.
How many queens do you produce?
100,000.
Wow. Wow. So I'll let you keep going, but definitely we're going to want to find out what that looks like. So what's really baffles me is how the organization of being able to produce that many queens, and the organization of the workforce to be able to put out that kind of quantity. So we'll get to that eventually as well, but back to your selection process and more on your selection process.
Okay, now we have around 35 different lines that come from the result of the work with other breeders in Europe and our selection program. Now our selection program is focused on bee health. It means Varroa resistant traits, but more of that, virus tolerance and resistant traits, because now the problem of bees is not still Varroa, but are the stressor that have bees today in all over the world that became have more pathogenic and more pathogenic virus. So there are a group of character in the bees related all on virus tolerance that we are breeding now. Our breeding program is, we have 2 virologists inside our company, 3 genetists that work with us, 1 quantitative genetist, 1 genetist in zootechnic, and another to make the statistic. We have 2 virologists, 1 of the university in Italy, 1 in France, and 1 immunopathologist. So we are finding new traits inside bees that are related to more tolerance in virus. What is the difference between tolerance and resistance? Resistance is focused on the develop on pathogen. Tolerance, it means to react better of the pathogen. So is more in general, is more generally in health of the bees. We breed different line because, in my opinion, beekeeping is related. There is the results of the environment in which a company work, and the goal of the company. So the genetic have to be a service that means to have different line for different environment. That is very important. In cross-combination breeding, you can do it.
Perfect. And so maybe let's describe your customers in Europe a little bit, because I understand your customers in Canada are buying your stock for winter replacement, also to introduce new genetics into their operations. And a lot of your stock also goes towards beekeepers that are doing pollination services. So in Europe, I mean, 100,000 queens is a lot of queens, and I know how many are coming to Canada, which is just a drop in the bucket to what you are producing. So what's your customer profile in Europe? Like, who's buying these queens? What is their business?
Normally professional beekeeper in most of the European country. But in Europe, there is also a market of little beekeeper that have 300, 400 hives. And since this year, we grow up an app so we can have all the information back from not all the customer, but the customer that buy breeder queen, because and the other part of our work is to sell breeder queen, but not only breeder queen, also drone line, also the system to come si dice per valutare? To evaluate this line in other place, because in beekeeping we have two very difficult things in breeding. First is the influence of environment. Second is the variance of the genetic variance inside a group of sisters. So the goal is to have the possibility to evaluate a big group of sisters in different environment. This is what we want to do, and we do this also with the help of our customer.
So that brings me around to probably the biggest question here for beekeepers is how to manage their mite loads. And it's a continuous struggle of trying to maintain a low enough mite level that the colonies don't crash. And it seems to be a repeating thing here that we're always, that's, to be a beekeeper here, you have to be a successful mite killer. So I'm wondering in your operation and in general in your geography, what the struggle is like with mites for you, what you're using to treat for mites, and how how beekeepers are overcoming the mite problem, and in your own operation as well. I mean, mites must be one of your biggest struggles.
Our biggest struggle is Varroa, but also virus, and not all the virus are related with Varroa. Only a few part of virus are related of a high infestation of Varroa, but the other virus are not related to Varroa, but are passare, come si dice? Transmitted inside the bees by vertical and horizontal transmission. For mite, normally we use oxalic stripe in this moment in all over Italy, because we have colonies in south of Italy to north of Italy. In the south, we have never a stop of the brood, so we have continued brood 12 months per year. Oxalic stripe is we have a new recipe with more glycerin and less oxalic, and we can use it all over the season. Then in some part of the Italy we make the encagement of the queen, so we cage the queen for 1 month, 1 month and a half in winter time, and we do in some part of north also in summertime. But now we have problem in all over the Europe in colony with a few infestation of mite. We have a big infestation of virus. It means that now for the climate change, less pollen and nectar, and the change of the temperature in summertime, bees are stressed by other factor, environmental factor, stressor, and the virus charge increase a lot. In a part of Italy, all the beekeeper in the center of Italy lose the bees with a charge of Varroa of 200, 300 Varroa at the end of the year, nothing. So it means that the problem is Varroa. Varroa is a biological vector of virus pathogen, but is not the only. We have other source of transmission.
We'll stay on the disease front here a little bit out of curiosity. And what I've really noticed with your queens, because we've been using them, is they're seem to be chalk brood resistant. So when we're doing beekeeping here early in the spring, coming out of in April, or if we have a very wet spring, there tends to be more chalk brood, and certain colonies have it worse than others. I've noticed your queens are very resistant to chalk brood. There's a lot less chalk brood in the colonies, which is fantastic. That means you must have selected that out. But I'm curious about the other kind of big diseases that we hear about here, and it may be an issue in Canada at some point here. It seems under the radar right now, but I'm talking about American foul brood and European foul brood, and whether or not that's a concern much in Europe, or is there treatment? How is American foul brood dealt with in Italy if it shows up in a colony? Like, what are the procedures, and what does that look like?
All the pathogens related of the brood are very easy to take out with selection. We need to have an high hygienic behavior. With the hygienic behavior, you take out the most of the pathogen related to the brood. Only Ascosphaera, calc brood, it's very, very environmental pathogen. It's very related on humidity, pollen, and nectar resource, and is a seasonal pathogen. The other, with a high hygienic behavior, are very easy to take out. We select for hygienic behavior since 7 years, and now we have our test is with a pin test, and we control only after 6 hours. We start with 24 hours. So we have after 6 hours more than 70% of the brood that we make the test open and clean.
Now, what is the protocol if there is? So is there any kind of burn protocol or anything like that, or is any of those things treated for as well in Europe, or is it? I just wonder what the policy is with your, with your agricultural department. What the policy is in hives that would have one of those diseases. Is there a treatment protocol, or is it a burn protocol, or how is it dealt with there? Is what I'm curious. These diseases in a commercial operation, not necessarily you, but in a commercial operation. If an inspector comes in and determines, these beehives do have one of these brood diseases, how it's dealt with.
In Italy and in France, in Spain, I don't think so. If the veterinary find American foul brood or European foul brood in apiary, they stop all around 3 kilometers for 2 months, and they burn. You are obliged to burn.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. So that leads in, we might as well stay on the same thread for a little bit. I'm a little bit curious if you could explain, because you have a virologist working for you in the university tied in, maybe explain their role and how integral they are to your selection process, and how science is really, a lot of companies, produce queens, some companies are breeding queens, which are far and few between. So, I mean, it's one thing to produce queens, to breed them is something, a whole different level of science. And people use the word breeding and producing interchangeable when they're not. There's a big difference between breeding. And when you are on board with universities and virologists on staff helping, I'd like to understand that, maybe explain how that ties into the business and how vital they are to your selection process.
Okay, breeding since long time in beekeeping was related only to the sensibility of the breeder. Since 10 years, we want to put science inside bee breeding. Bee breeding is very different to the other breed, to the other animal breed, because we have polyandria. We have we breed an animal with different genetic and ethologist things. The importance of science in beekeeping, in bee breeding, is that with science we can identify the character, we can identify the genetic area in which these characters are, and then we can go faster in selection. But also with science, we can find new character in bees. Our biologists, for example, are a consultant, but we have one genetist that work only for us. The other two genetists, quantitative and statistic genetists, are consultant. So we have only one genetist inside our company that work only for us, and the two virologists, the immunopathologists, are consultant and come si appoggiano, come si dice, hanno la possibilità. They have the possibility to work with the university laboratory in Italy and in France. So we are organize a work like that. We make a big investment in the next 3 years of around 2.6 million of euro only in queen breeding, because we
scientists,
but not only scientists, but this inside the daily work and the work of beekeeping, because the other problem of the relationship between science and beekeeping that normally sono in due mondi diversi.
There are two different areas, because research only refers to laboratory results, but they don't find any appliance in the field. So our goal for this project is to put science in the field, research in the field, and to understand what is really needed in beekeeping, and making all the tests, laboratory tests, and certifying all the steps we do in selection.
So maybe you could tell me more about the app that you're working on, and I believe it's called Apiary Book.
Yeah.
The Apiary Book, so how that ties in and how you're going to be using that to improve.
Awesome.
Basically, Apiary Book is our digitalization project, because we are our intention is to share specific knowledge between the beekeepers that use our genetics. It's referred, for the moment, is being used only by the beekeepers who use our breeder queens, but it will be soon open also to the F1 users. And our goal is to share the informations about each single traits, about each line, because we have a high diversity of genetic lines, and we want to share this information between beekeepers, having feedback in the same time, in real time from them, and so that each beekeeper can have the possibility to choose, aware of the characteristic he's looking for, checking in real time the performance of that genetic line in different or in similar environments, and so he can choose the best genetic line for their own requirements, for their own needs in their operations. And the second step will be kind of a platform, a meeting point also for the seminaries, for the workshops, and for trainings, because we as well want to share all the results of our selection program and acknowledge to beekeepers that use and share our genetic material.
Yeah. So from our point of view, it's really exciting to work with a company that is so professional and, you know, on the cutting edge really of beekeeping. You really are, right? So we're representing your queens in Canada. We're also very excited to represent your packages that we bring in. And last year, I believe, was the very first year for packages, which was a great success, and we're doing packages again this year. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came up with your packaging for the packages and what that looks like.
We started to produce package bees for European market 17 years ago. Then we have this great opportunity to sell and to send package bees in Canada. That is very difficult. It was very difficult the first year because logistic, trasporto aereo, come si dice?
Air transport.
Air transport. We think that package bees, my idea of package bees, that was in the past very used also in Europe to replace dead colony, is not only a service in which you take 1 kilo 5 bees, but it's important also the genetic in package bees, because with this colony you work all the season, and if it's possible, if the environment, you can overwinter this colony. So our goal in package bees is to give young bees, spring bees, because we produce package bees for Canadian market in springtime to us, so it's not easy. You prepare 6 months only for this work. So the quality bees, young bees, spring bees, and genetics. We think that both is the goal in our work of package bees.
And to answer your question about the packaging, we basically started from what is our general vision of the beekeeping, and we are trying to basically mitigate the effects of the climate change in beekeeping. So we searched during the years for a lot of solutions, especially for thermoregulation of the hives. And with our supplier, when we started, when we had to transport the bees from Europe to Canada, the weight is an important element in air transport. And as well, the thermoregulation of the bees, because packages are so delicate because of the temperature, because of the airflow, because of all the conditions they need to have to arrive optimal bees to destination. So we started to search for a material for the packaging that could combine these two situations, that could reduce environmental cost in reducing weight and CO2 basically emission. And on the other hand, which was the most important part, was to get the bees arrive to destination in good health. So because of the thermoregulation and because of reducing the environmental cost, we arrived to this material for our packages that we together with our supplier, we found this situation where we can get plastic from the oceans and recycle it to produce this material we use for the package bees.
So the packaging, just to be clear so everyone understands, the packaging that the packages come in is reclaimed plastic from the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. You're cleaning up the oceans at the same time, so that's fantastic. I have a two-part question here. One is, if you're producing 100,000 queens a year, that must mean you have a lot of colonies. And so what people would be interested in, because there's not a lot of beekeepers in Canada that are running that kind of volume. There is nobody in Canada that does something like that. And so a lot of commercial beekeepers, when they look at an organization that is able to produce that, the question that comes to my mind is, for you, what does, how many colonies is that? And when you wake up in the morning, what does your day-to-day look like? You must have a lot of managers that you get organized. Like, what does it look like on a day-to-day a little bit to have that kind of size organization? So
we have around 9,000 colony in 7 different regions in Italy, from the south to the north. Our work is divided in different groups. Each group is specialized in a part of the work. All our employees are here since long time, 10 years, 12 years, and we have a group that work only for male drone breeding. That is the most important part of our work in the colony. One group that work in royal cell production. We produce around 250,000 royal cell each year. In season now, we are starting, we have 280 starter and finisher in one place. We work with starter and finisher. We are 4 people only that do this job. Other 6 people that do only drone breeding. Other 9 people that are only focused in take queen, which raccogliere.
Picking up the queens.
In picking up the queen.
Evaluating and picking them up. Okay.
3 person that are only in the office and organize the delivery and the customer relation, and other 5 people in the field to work with the bees. So totally we are around 35, 36 people all over the year.
And then
the most difficult thing is drone breeding, because drone is the most fragile animal inside the hives.
Okay, that's very interesting. So just a little bit to get to the nuts and bolts. So you're using a starter to start the cells. You're taking them out into a finisher, and then they go to a mating nuke, correct? To be mated, or do they get mated out of the?
No.
Go in the incubator.
Yeah.
The translarve stay one day inside the starter, then 4 days and a half inside the finisher, other 4 days and a half inside the incubator, and then in the mini. We have around 14,000 mini apidea, mini nuclei.
Okay.
Mating hives.
How many?
14,000.
Wow. So I think people would be curious to understand, what your starter colony actually looks like, what it consists of, and then when it gets moved to the finisher, what those 2 makeups look like. So as you know, I keep bees as well, and one of my first passions was raising queens, making queens, and I got, I never stayed in business making the queens that much. We have passed it along, but we would do it. We've tried every method, and we found various methods successful. And the easiest way to do it, I mean, if you're just producing queens for yourself, was to make them, make your starter also your finisher. But on a larger scale, so does your starter, is it 2 boxes of bees? Like, what does it look like? How many frames are in there? And then when it goes into the finisher, what does that look like? What's the difference? And what's important? Like, what are the steps not to miss there to make it work?
The starter are orphan nooks with 6 frame, 4 frame of close brood, 1 frame of pollen and nectar, and 1 kilogram of young bees inside in the beginning. Then every week you have to give to the starter 1 frame of close brood. In this starter we breed around 48-50 royal cell. After 1 day we pass the new cell in the finisher. Finisher are big hives, 12 frame, hot frame, divided with a queen excluder, in which in the front you have 2 frame of fresh brood and 1 frame of pollen and nectar, and in the back you have the colony with the queen. And you pass 1 frame of fresh brood from the colony to the front each week to attract the young bees. Not the secret, but the most important thing in starter and finisher is to have the right age bees that are able to feed the translarve that you do. This is the most important. And nutrition. Feeding is very important. We feed with protein, and we feed with a syrup that we produce of 55% of fructose. That is very important.
All right. So I am curious what your thoughts are, and if you use it all, if with artificial insemination, if you're using any of that, or if it, how often that comes into your operation, or what your thoughts are on it. I know there's a lot of breeders that don't believe in it because they don't believe it says, I guess it can be very targeted. You can be very targeted with it, but you're not getting the same kind of queen that would be as healthy in a hive as a naturally mated queen. So I'm wondering your thoughts.
Artificial insemination is a part of our work, but we have also 2 isolating mating places, 1 for the first cross, 1 for finish the line each year. With artificial insemination, you can do a lots of different things. You can make single drone insemination to fix and to reduce the genetic variability and to fix some traits. You can have multi-drone insemination from 1 colony. You can have multi-drone insemination from group of sister colony. So you can have in your place different isolating mating place for each year. And that is very important because normally in breeding, since 3 years ago, all of the breeder work with one mating station per year. It means 1 drone line per year. That is very dangerous because you reduce a lot the genetic variability and you focus your work only in 1 drone line. With artificial insemination, you can do this at home with a lots of different drone line. The only difficult thing is to prepare the drone line and to have a good inseminator. In Europe, we have 2 good inseminators that travel in all over the company. We have that is also our genetist that do this work for us. We do around 100 queens per day, but the first day we collect only the sperm. And we can maintain the sperm in good condition with viability and motility of the sperm also for 3 months.
Wow.
It means that you can split the work.
Yeah, so it's very important then, and it has its place. I just had a pop-up come up saying I'm running out of time.
Yes.
In case we get cut off, I want to say that I can't wait to come to Italy and take video and really see firsthand because it sounds like a very, very exciting company to be involved with everything you're doing with the app and the packaging. If we don't get cut off here, I'd like to hear in a final question what your next steps are for the company or what your aspirations are, what your goals are. what that that number one thing you're going after, what that looks like, and what would satisfy you to be able to do that in your business.
Done.
Yeah, we are just to make it short, and we renew the invitation for you to come. And in the meantime, I will share with you the daily work videos for you and the public. But to make it very, very short, our goal is to revolutionize beekeeping through advanced genetic selection, combining cutting-edge technologies in bee breeding, and trying to mitigate all the problems that beekeeping is facing today, basically all over the world.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that adjourns us. It actually opened up where I'll watch this again. I'll be like, wow, I have a lot more questions, but I think we did a good job there in the time we had, and we're about to get cut off here. So thank you very much for sitting down with us. And definitely, my entire family wants to go to Italy, so that won't be hard. And I was thinking, there's been talk here about having a competition for the beekeepers to have a trip to go to, that DNCB would pay for them to go to Italy and see your organization too, which would be pretty exciting, grand prize kind of thing to have going on here. So until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you
to you.
You are welcome. You and the customer who will win the prize.
Yeah.
And share the registration.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for now.
Thank you too. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.